J. Henry & Sons maintains the history of their farm while creating a legacy with bourbon. That includes this barn where they store the aging bourbon barrels. Tell me a little bit about the building that this is in. Do you have to control like the environment at all? I mean, this is Wisconsin, and as you said, you know, they can get cold and hot all at the same time. So talk to me a little bit about like this building and why they work well in here.
So this is a dairy barn. This was the original dairy barn on the farm when my husband's dad bought this farm. And he didn't have dairy cattle. He grew corn for them, but he didn't have dairy cattle. So we used this barn mainly for equipment storage until we started making bourbon.
Okay.
It is non-electrified, so we have no lights, no heat, no humidity controls. It's raw wood that we power wash the wood and stone and cement, and that's it. That's a really great environment because it's a natural environment. And the bourbon loves to be in a natural environment where there aren't other flavors, smells, tastes around it. So these barrels live here. We try to leave them in the same spots. In other words, if they're a top barrel, they stay at the top, or if they're a bottom barrel, they stay at the bottom. Our rick houses are what we call a single level or single layer rick house. That's not common out in Kentucky. There's only one major place that does that single layer, only because they go up. They have giant, enormous rick houses. Not better or worse. We learned everything we know from Kentucky. That's the motherland. But what we like is that it gives us a little more control. And what they do, even in their giant, enormous rick houses, is they try to track where a barrel lives while it's aging. Because it's, even in this small single layer place, it's hotter on the top layers than it is on the bottom layers. So different chemical reactions occur inside the barrel as it's aging and maturing. They often say barrels by windows are considered honeyed barrels because the sun shines on them and warms them up every day. So those are special barrels you want to always keep track of.
We head outside the rick house to learn why the barn looks a little dirty.
There's a black mold growing on the outside of the building. When it first started appearing, our guys on the farm said, "Don't worry, Liz, we'll power wash the barn so that it's clean and it looks good like the rest of the place." And I said, "Don't you dare, because this is a very special black mold that feeds on the angel's share."
Okay.
So when you see black mold on the outside of a rick house, you know that it's a healthy rick house, that the barrels are breathing.
Okay.
And that they're evaporating to the angels.
That's very interesting. It's not something that I would have ever guessed, but yeah, very cool.
It's also why during Prohibition they required a lot of folks down south to whitewash their buildings.
Oh, so they could tell.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Very cool.
Okay.